Making a padlock has been on most of my ideas lists that I've made over the years, and when a mate lent me this book, I thought it was about time I gave it a go. I'll make a different style to the one in the book though. I'm going to attempt to make a brass pancake padlock. I'll make the case of the padlock from this piece of hex bar, and I'll do that by turning it on the lathe. I'll start by turning the outside down and then face it off. The recess that's already there is a bit too deep, so I need to turn down the outside a little further. Next, I'll start hollowing out the centre, and I'll do that with a boring bar. I'll just mention here that I've never made a lock before and I really don't know what I'm doing, but like most things I make, I'm just giving it a go and seeing what happens. And because of this, there's probably better methods to make it, but I'm having fun and it may just work. The side walls were a touch too tall, so I faced the rim back down to leave the inside at the correct depth. After knocking the burr off the inside edge, I parted the piece as deep as I could and then finished the rest with a hacksaw. Next, I'll put it back in the chuck and I'll face off the opposite side. That's not looking too bad at all. Next, I'll make a lid for it, and I probably shouldn't call it a lid. I should probably call it the front face of the lock. Now I need to face off the back of the lid, and to do that I've prepared this piece of aluminium which I'll glue the lid to with CA glue. It's not perfectly centred, but it doesn't need to be as I'm only facing it. It wasn't supposed to do that, but it only needed one more pass, so I glued it back on. I'll give both parts a quick sand just to take off the centre nubs. The two pieces will be joined together with pins, so next I'll drill holes for those. I'll glue the pieces together first and then drill through both of them at the same time. Some of the holes will be through holes, but some of them will be blind holes into the inside of the front face. Because of that, I've printed out the template in reverse and I'll drill the holes from the back. Nothing here needs to be crazy accurate, but I am doing my best to try and hit the marks. I'm centre drilling and reaming the holes to try and get a good fit with the pins. The holes around the edge are 4mm and they're all through holes. The remaining holes are 3.2mm and those ones are the blind holes. To set the depth, I'll lower the drill onto a scale which I know is 1mm thick. I'll then zero my readout and then from there I can work out how deep to drill, including the 1mm offset. Next, I'll take out this section here, which I forgot to add a centre mark to in my drawings. I also made it 19mm in diameter, which doesn't work because I don't have any way of making a 19mm hole. So instead, I'll make it 18mm. I drilled a few holes in increasing sizes, and I think this one was 13mm, and then I finished it with an end mill. Next, I'll open the end up and I'll do that by milling it. And again, it doesn't need to be super accurate. And I could have even done this with a hacksaw and files. The next thing I need are brass pins, and to cut those I'll use these shears that I recently made for the fly press. They cut off super clean, leaving only a very slight burr which I removed off camera. So far so good. Next I'll remove a section either side of the opening, and that will leave a space where the shackle can go through the casing. I'm using a couple of parallels and the T-slot to somewhat line up the workpiece. The pins will get soldered into the case, but to give them more strength, I'll make some support blocks. They'll also get soldered and they'll keep the pins in the correct position while I'm soldering them. These are going to be fiddly to make, and I'm not confident they'll work that neat, but let's give it a go. The template came off a couple of them, so I had to carefully replace them. I'll use this mini machinist vise to line up the marks to the top of the jaws and then file away using the jaws as a guide. The radius on this piece needs to match the one on the case, and I should probably have drilled it in the same way before cutting the piece from the bar. I was confident I could file it though, but then I realised my small wheel attachment for the belt grinder was just about the perfect radius. That worked out well, and that's the first piece done. Next I'll try one of the small fiddly ones. That one fits pretty well too, it just needs a bit of refining, and I did that with sandpaper. I made the rest of the pieces off camera, and now I'm going over each one, refining them and sanding them to the correct height, which is just a touch below the rim of the case. I reckon that looks promising. Next I'll clean it up, ready for soldering. I'll clean all the parts with acetone and then apply flux to anywhere where I want the solder to flow. I'm cutting the solder into small pieces and then placing them at each joint, and I'm doing it this way because there's so many joints close together and I don't feel confident in controlling the heat and applying the solder to each joint. I'm pushing the pins down past the back face and they'll be removed later on. I found this next part a bit scary as I've done very little soldering before. Luckily though, I got a crash course a couple of weeks ago off my mate Corin, and that does give me some hope. I'm super happy with that. There's at least one place it didn't get right into, but it'll be more than good enough. And when it's all closed up, I don't think anything will be moving anyway. Next, I'll try and remove the flux and all the crud, or at least loosen it by putting it into a pickle bath. I left it a few minutes and then gave it a bit of a polish with a rotary tool, starting with a Scotch-Brite wheel and then with a wire wheel. I need to get into the corners, but that will do for now. And the lid still fits, even though I do need to file down the internal pins so it closes up, but I'll do that later. So far it's gone pretty well, but next I'll be making the moving part, so we'll have to see what happens there. I've decided to make it a multi-part video. Let me know if that's something you like or that you don't like. Anyway, the next part shouldn't be too far away. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.